What's going on, everybody? This is the Jay-3 show. I'm Jared Sweat.
And I'm Justin Hubbard.
Justin, it's good to have you back. Justin has been out of town, and it's kind of been an elusive dance that me and him have been able to do a show. So this is the first week that Jordan Hill has not been on the show. So Jordan, if you're listening, hope you're going to be back soon. And Justin, it's really good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back, dude. I don't think I've seen you in like a year, it feels like.
It feels like it.
I'm glad Jordan's streak came to an end, though. He was kind of showing us up. I mean, we both have missed shows before. It's about time for him to miss one.
Yeah. Well, regardless, it's good to have you back. So today's show, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. The Warriors clinched the series in a Game 6 victory over the Cavs. We're going to be talking about that. Next, we're going to be talking about Todd Gurley's contract. The Rams signed him for a good chunk of money, and we're going to be talking about the implications of that. Next is the top 5 miraculous sports moments. We're going to be mentioning some very key plays in sports history that have really just stood out. And then, kind of tying everything together, we're going to be talking about former Braves outfielder Jeff Francouer pitching. Yes, he pitched 2 innings in a game, and like I said, we're going to be talking about that at the end of the show, so listen up for that. But first, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. So, like I said, the Warriors won it in Game 6 against the Cavs, 105-97. LeBron James couldn't pull it out, but he had 32 points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 assist away from a triple-double. On Golden State's side, Steph Curry, 25 points, 8 assists, and NBA Finals MVP Andre Iguodala had 25 points. So, Justin, from what you saw from the NBA Finals this year, what were some of the things you took away from it?
Well, first of all, kudos to the three of us for successfully predicting this series. All three of us, me, you, and Jordan, at some point predicted that Golden State would win it in 6 games, and they did. So we're just call us Nostradamus.
Nailed it.
I thought it was a great series. I'm not really a basketball fan, but I do try to follow the finals at least, and typically the entire playoffs like I have this year. It was a great series, and I was enthralled with most of what I saw. A lot of close games, 2 went to overtime. It was just a fantastic series. But at the end of the day, as I told Jordan a few weeks ago, the moment Kyrie Irving went down in, I think it was Game 2, that changed the series because Cleveland at that point had limited firepower without Kevin Love on the team. But losing Kyrie Irving just drained them of everything except for LeBron. Of course, we had a couple other guys who stepped up. They performed well, but at the end of the day, they weren't able to step up and perform along with LeBron and keep them fighting. So, great series, but I think it would have been better had Cleveland been at full strength, and it might have turned out a little differently.
I think so. With Irving's absence, I mean, that just obviously takes away easily Cleveland's second best player. So that's like saying, okay, if you completely flip it, if Golden State loses Klay Thompson or Iguodala,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're talking about an entirely different series, one that could go to 7 games, or Cleveland could grab another game early, and you don't know how that series would turn out. But like we had said, I mean, LeBron had an absolutely phenomenal series, but it did to me seem like it was a bit of a flashback to whenever he was still with the Cavs before he left for Miami and trying to carry the team, except without the Antonio Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, it's the Golden State Warriors this time. So it's kind of a shame, really. You know, he really carried the team, and I saw a lot of people poking fun at him on Twitter, or poking fun at the Cavs, rather, that LeBron was the entire team. They had a picture with every position labeled, and each position had a different picture of LeBron. So I really feel like like you had said, if the Cavs had all the firepower that they could potentially have, then it would have been a better series.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, if you follow the show, you know that I'm an Atlanta sports hater. I always have been, always will be. But I'm going to throw a little respect toward the Atlanta Hawks. If the Cavaliers had faced a full-strength Atlanta Hawks, I don't think they would have made it because they were so limited.
Oh, absolutely not.
And so the finals was just the fact that they'd had so many injuries finally catching up to them, in my opinion.
Right.
So what do you think this means for Golden State, Jared?
I think it's going to bring an entirely new level of swagger. I hate using that word, but that's exactly what it is. It's going to bring an entirely new level of swagger to Golden State basketball. They're going to be able to bring in some players, and they may not necessarily win the series again next year, but it will provide a spark for the organization and increase their fan base, which has been ever increasing over the past few years. It's gonna just absolutely propel this organization to the point where they can get any players. They'll be able to enter the free agent market and be a strong competitor for some of these players. They're going to be able to pretty much put their face in basketball and say, hey, you know, we're a competitor too, and we're here around for a little while. Whereas, I mean, whatever team LeBron's on, I mean, they're automatically going to the playoffs and pretty much the finals. So, I feel like it adds to the competition in the NBA. So I like it for the Warriors. But Justin, what do you think it means for the Warriors?
I have an opinion about sports. I think across all sports you have 4 tiers of teams. You got the bad teams who are never going to compete. Then you've got the pretty good teams who might make the playoffs every now and then. Then you have the very good teams who are usually in the playoffs. They may not go deep, but they're always relevant. And then you have the elite teams who win titles. I think we just saw Golden State take a step up from a very good team to an elite team. I think they're in the top tier of the NBA. They're up there with the Spurs and teams like that. And like you said, it's been building for a while, and it seems like they just needed Steve Kerr to come in and just smush everything together and get everything going for them. And I like how you said they're kind of a face of the NBA now. I think that's completely accurate. Steph Curry's a superstar now. He was a very popular player before this series, but I think now he's a bona fide NBA superstar, as is the rest of the team.
I'd have to say so. And on the other side of the ball, what do you think that this means for LeBron?
I think, and a lot of people label me a LeBron hater. I'm really not. It's just, you know, he has all these great stats this year in the finals, but he didn't win, so it didn't really mean anything. And I think that's what we're going to look back on this as, yet another great performance, but not good enough. Of course, he was, as we said, basically carrying the team. But I think it does taint his legacy a little bit that he came back and had this great performance and still wasn't able to win. How about you? You disagree? I'm sure you do.
Well, I agree with certain things about it, but I also disagree in that it taints his legacy because whenever he went down to Miami, if you recall, that first year in Miami, they were an absolute force. Bosh, Wade, and LeBron were just unstoppable. Did they win that year? No, they lost to the Mavericks in the finals, I believe, in 6 games, if I remember correctly. But I mean, LeBron is continuously proved himself, and I know a lot of people were calling him to be the Finals MVP, even though the Cavs didn't win it, because of how well LeBron played throughout the series. I forget how many triple-doubles he had and how many points he scored, and especially, and one that a lot of people forget, how many minutes he played.
Yeah.
I know that last game he played something crazy like 43 minutes or 46. I can't remember the exact number, but I mean, LeBron just solidified his ability to take an average, or what you were saying, a good team, to the elite level, because the Cavs last year were just not good.
Yeah. They
were not very good. And then LeBron comes in and takes them immediately to the finals. So I hate it for LeBron, and I'm not a LeBron hater either, because, I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete, and he has the ability, like I said, to take any team to the finals that he's on. But I do think that this just proves that the Warriors were better. They had a better team. It's not necessarily the better player, but the better team. Because with the loss of Irving, the loss of Love, and I will say, even though, and I want to talk about this a little bit later on, how Dellavedova stepped up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's an absolutely phenomenal step up by somebody who we hadn't heard of a year ago.
If Cleveland had won, that's the story of the finals, in
Absolutely.
my opinion. Just his rise to fame, I guess.
And people forget how well Dellavedova played because he's playing in LeBron's shadow because of how well LeBron played. But Dellavedova had, in the Game 2 and Game 3 victories, he was arguably going to be the finals MVP. Yeah. I know a lot of people were mentioning him as that. So I think another implication of this finals is that Dellavedova is going to be if he is still with the team next year, somebody else is going to try to pick him up. He's going into the free agent market, and then someone is going to try to sign for him or trade something big for him, because I think he proved himself to be a quality NBA starter.
I mean, if nothing else, you know he's going to go out there and fight and give it his all.
Absolutely. So another key point in this NBA Finals is that this is the most watched series since 1998. And that was between the Bulls and the Jazz. And if you remember, this was Michael Jordan's last season with the Bulls. So, Justin, do you think this deserved to be the most watched series?
The games were fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great series to watch. Like I said, I'm not even an NBA fan, really, but I was very engaged with it. All the games were close. Even the last game when Golden State pulled away, like you said, it looked like Cleveland kind of gave up. They still made a late charge, and it could have swung the other way. So, yeah, it was a good series.
I'd say so, too, especially the Game 1 and Game 2 both
going
into overtime.
Was phenomenal.
I think if those games hadn't gone into overtime, I think that we wouldn't even be mentioning this stat right now. Because, I mean, it just proved how close of a series it was going to be, regardless of whoever won each game. I mean, it was a very competitive series, and I liked it.
The St. Louis Cardinals have found themselves in a little bit of trouble. They're under an investigation by the FBI for reportedly trying to steal some player information from the Houston Astros. Jared, what do you think about this whole thing?
I think it's a little bit of a he said, she said for right now. I mean, obviously they're allegedly they were accused of stealing closely guarded information about Astros players. And I think this is such a big stink because of how well the Cardinals have played over the past decade, and you kind of wonder, okay, is this kind of like a Patriots thing? Like, oh, did they deflate the balls? Oh, just Spygate, all that. So I think if this happened any other time, that it wouldn't be as big of a deal, and especially like if it were any other franchise other than the Astros, I'd think so. But I mean, whenever you consider that they're not even in the same division anymore, it's like okay, but. As of yet, no one has been suspended or fired, so we're kind of waiting to hear about what that's going to lead to. But as of right now, it's kind of a he said, she said thing, and I can't really make too much of it.
Yeah, I'm not too privy to all the details. I'm not exactly sure what this could mean. But if they are found guilty of doing this, then this is one of the biggest, I guess, scandals in baseball history. It's going to be an early test for brand new commissioner Rob Manfred, though. He's been kind of mum about it. Of course, this is very new. It's developing. Nothing really, we don't really know exactly what's happened yet. But it could be a very serious offense. But like you said, we just don't really know enough yet to make a big judgment about it. I just think it's kind of funny that they're stealing information from the Astros. I mean, depending on how far back this goes. I mean, they're a good team now. But if this goes back 10 years or so, why would you try to get information from their players? They're not even good, Yeah. It's kind of comical in that sense, but it's something definitely worth keeping your eye on as the next weeks come and go, because we could see some big news come from this.
But then again, you wonder if this has been going on.
Oh,
then maybe that's why the Cardinals always had the Astros number. So you kind of have to take that into consideration.
If Major League Baseball and the FBI find that this has been going on for an extended amount of time, and they can find some proof that the Cardinals were so good because they got players because of this information, then we could see some truly historic, I guess, punishments handed down for Major League Baseball because the steroid era has stained baseball. I would imagine something like this coming up, Manfred and the MLB would want to, take a huge stand against this kind of thing. So it could be a very historic moment in baseball history.
Todd Gurley recently signed a contract with the St. Louis Rams after being drafted. A contract that's worth $13.8 million plus over 4 years. Justin, what do you make of this deal? Is it a good deal?
I think it is. It seems kind of cheap, but then again, this is a rookie contract, and this is for a player who's coming in with an ACL injury who may not even be able to play this coming season. I do think eventually Todd Gurley is gonna earn his way up the ladder. He'll have a big contract at some point, but it kind of sucks to see such a talented player get sort of a smaller contract. But had he not been injured, I'm sure he would have gotten around 22, 23 million. So all in all, pretty good deal. It'd just be interesting to see if he's able to heal, what kind of contract he could get after that.
I'd have to agree. And one other thing that other people kind of look over is that they're kind of thinking, okay, well, this is a small contract for a running back. But the game's changed completely. If this was 10 years ago, Gurley would be signing a $40-50 million contract. But as much as a passing league as this is, I mean, there are not many elite running backs coming out of drafts. So even though Gurley did go early in the first round, I mean, it's one of those things that the Rams are kind of taking a risk in drafting a running back. They had Zach Stacy and Trey Mason before they did draft him. So it does speak for Gurley's talent, but you have to wonder how are they going to utilize a running back in this league, especially with this being a pass-heavy league? Yeah. You know, they acquired Nick Foles, got rid of Sam Bradford, and they're trying to build up that team. Yeah. So I think that is why Gurley's contract does fall a little bit short than what expectations preceded.
Yeah. If the plan is not to use Gurley too much, then that would make sense. As you said, they got Nick Foles, who I think is a very underrated quarterback, and I think he's going to make them a lot better than they ever were with Sam Bradford. So if they're going to focus more on the passing game, then I could certainly understand them trying to get Gurley at a discounted price, since he's not going to be used much anyway.
And his injury certainly does merit a discount in this case. I mean, yes, he is a phenomenal athlete, but everyone still forgets, you know, he tore his ACL. So, I mean, is that going to hinder him? How far is that going to set him back? When are the Rams going to be able to use him? You just have to take all this into consideration. So I do see where the number came from, but it is a little bit of a shame considering how talented he is. With that, we are going to move into our top 5 segment of the week. We are going to be mentioning our top 5 miraculous sports moments. Justin, lead us off.
I want to start with one honorable mention, and I was kind of tempted to throw this into my top 5, but I think it's had a lot to do with skill, much more than luck or miracles, as we're implying. October 15th, 2000, Dale Earnhardt won his final race, win number 76 in the NASCAR Cup Series at Talladega. With 4 laps to go, he was in the 18th position, and somehow found a way to come back from that deep in the field, about halfway back, and win the race somehow. It was incredible. But Dale Earnhardt was a master of Talladega and Daytona, the 2 restrictor plate tracks. So I think that would have a lot to do with skill. But we don't talk about NASCAR a lot, so I wanted to throw that out there. My number 5 top miraculous moment is the Immaculate Reception with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Go back and watch it. It's just, I think it has a lot to do with luck, but the ball got tipped into the hands of another receiver who just so happened to be standing there, and he took it all the way for a Steelers win. It was crazy, but it was pretty cool to see as well. Number 4, Appalachian State upsetting the Michigan football team back in 2007. They beat them 34-32 in Ann Arbor, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
It was a crazy game, and it set, you have a lot of top lower division schools, and App State became one of them. After that, they're up there with the UABs of the world. Number 3, Jared, we've been talking about this for a while now, a few minutes before we started recording. The David Tyree catch in the 2007 Super Bowl. Giants against the Patriots. Just an incredible all-around play. Eli Manning somehow found a way to get out of the pocket and even throw the ball for this catch to be possible. And David Tyree made the catch against his helmet. It's one of the best plays I've ever seen. Of course, it led the Giants down the field and set up a game-winning play and game-winning, I guess, half a drive maybe, because that was a very long throw that got him across the 50. Number 2, and I'm going to get a lot of heat from somebody, I'm sure, because of how big of a deal this game was in our country's history. But I've got the Miracle on Ice at number 2. And, it was big, but I'm not really a hockey fan, but it was a huge moment for the U.S. Hockey team to beat Soviets. And it was incredible. It's a great point of national pride. But my number 1 top miraculous moment, I'm not sure if it qualifies as a moment or not, but I'm putting it up there. The Red Sox beating the the Boston Red Sox beating the New York Yankees in the 2004 American League Championship Series. Let me spit this at you, Jared. The Red Sox were, at that point, were down 0-3 in the series. A spot in the World Series was on the line. They hadn't won it since 1918. And they became the third team in sports history across all American sports to win a best-of-7 series down 3 games to none. They came back. They won that game. Mariano Rivera blew a save. And they came back and won Game 4. And that just ignited their incredible run. They won 4 games in a row to win the series against the Yankees, their biggest rivals. And in my opinion, this is the best rivalry in sports. So that just makes it even better. And then they went on to win the World Series and break the curse of the Bambinos. So, in my opinion, that's the best miraculous sports moment.
Justin, my list has a lot of the same things, but the order of it is a little bit iffy. I have David Tyree's catch, despite how miraculous it was, as an honorable mention.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
That is blasphemous.
It did not win them the game. It converted a very long fourth down that, I mean, it was not only Tyree's catch, but Eli Manning's ability to escape the pocket after having 2 or 3 New England defenders beating down on him and having his jersey dragging him down. Yet he somehow found a way to get out, scramble out, and throw it up to a very well-covered David Tyree. I believe it was Rodney Harrison that was the New England's safety that was covering Tyree, and it was a phenomenal play, but does not make my top 5.
So you're calling a catch that paired with a Mario Manningham catch the next time the Giants made the Super Bowl against the Patriots. You're calling one of those 2 catches just an honorable mention when both of those catches are the only reason anybody calls Eli Manning elite. I mean, those 2 catches won the Super Bowl, and you're throwing one of them in the honorable mention category. That's just wrong.
There's some great moments in sports history.
Wow. And this is going to be interesting.
We're going to get into that right now. Number 5, I feel like I should move this up, but there are some even better plays than this. Number 5, not really a moment, but multiple moments. It was the 2004 ALCS, Justin, like you had mentioned, the Red Sox coming down from an 0-3 series record against the Yankees. The Yankees were an incredible team that year. They had just come off of a few years of winning and appearing in the World Series, and the Red Sox breaking the Bambino curse since they hadn't won it since 1918. I felt it was an incredible series, especially coming back from an 0-3 deficit. Number 4, a lot of people forget this, the BYU SMU game. It was the 1980 Holiday Bowl. BYU scored 21 points in the last 2.5 minutes. They won it all on a Hail Mary from Jim McMahon, I believe was the quarterback, as time expired to win it 46-45. I mean, it's an absolutely phenomenal comeback. So a lot of the Hail Marys and game-winning touchdowns. Yes, I mean, there was this had it all. This had a comeback in a very short amount of time against a very talented SMU team who was starting to come under allegations of corruption from the NCAA, which eventually led to the death penalty. But regardless, an incredible comeback from BYU in the 1980 Holiday Bowl. Number 3, I have the Doug Flutie Hail Mary against an even more impressive Miami squad. Boston College defeated Miami 47-45 on a last-minute Hail Mary. Doug Flutie, who was a 5'9" quarterback who could barely see over his offensive line, even he admitted that whenever he threw the ball. He said he didn't know who he was going to throw it to. But he said everybody just went to the end zone. I believe it was called a 50 flood, right? And that's where everyone just stormed the end zone. And a lot of people said that the Miami defensive backs were discrediting Flutie's arm, and that's why they didn't really take it seriously whenever they saw one of his receivers go past him. And they thought they had it soared just over their fingertips and right into the hands, who was actually his roommate that caught the game-winning pass. So Flutie tossing that Hail Mary against one of the best teams in college football ever makes my number 3.
If there was one snub from my top 5, this would be it. Great pick.
Number 2, I have to go with the Immaculate Reception. It was a shoestring catch made by Franco Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 1972 playoffs. Pittsburgh was playing the Oakland Raiders, who another incredibly talented team. Like I said, Franco Harris caught a tipped pass. It tipped off of a Pittsburgh Steelers receiver and fell right into Franco's hands, even though he did have to go right down to a shoestring catch to make it. But he avoided several Raiders defenders and went on to score, and that gave the Steelers a 13-12 victory, and it was essentially the peak of the Steelers dynasty in the 70s. So the Immaculate Reception makes mine number 2. And Justin, I have to throw this at number 1, despite your discreditation of this. The 1980 U.S. men's Olympic hockey team defeating the Soviets. The men's hockey team of the U.S. was a bunch of college kids, because that was back under the old rules of no professional athletes could play in the Olympics. So we were relying on college kids who were going up against arguably the all-star team of the Soviets. You know, Russia's infamous for having incredible hockey players, and especially whenever they all come back home to form a national team, especially during the height of the Cold War. It was, like you said, it was a moment of national pride. It was a moment it was a little league team going against a major league team and beating them. I believe they won 4-3 after being just absolutely slaughtered in an exhibition game a few days prior. So the 1980 U.S. men's Olympic hockey team defeating the Soviets makes mine number 1.
All right, now we're going to move on to our buzzer beater segment. Jared, why don't you get us started?
Julio Teheran was rocked in a game that he pitched 6 1/3 inning, gave up 13 hits, 6 earned runs, and a walk. Justin, is it time for the Braves to skip a start for Teheran?
I think it is. I mean, that was one of the worst performances I've seen him have in his entire career. His next start is scheduled for Sunday against the New York Mets, and I don't think he needs to take the mound. Richard Sherman recently tweeted that no athletes have to be more mentally prepared than football players. Jared, do you think he was right?
I don't think so. I think that, yes, football requires a lot of mental preparedness and a lot of mental toughness, but I can name multiple sports that require much more mental toughness. Probably, I'd say mental preparedness, I'd say golf. And, I mean, it's not necessarily a physical sport, but it is the sport that requires the most mental preparedness. Michael Vick is looking for a job after being on the free agent market for a little while. Justin, should a team sign him?
I think a team should, but as a backup. I think he has a lot to offer with his years of experience. I don't think he's good enough to play anymore, but he could still help develop some younger guys. Sticking with Michael Vick, he recently said that LaShawn McCoy should, quote, stop taking things so personally. Jared, do you think McCoy should listen to Michael Vick's advice?
I'd have to say so. You know, McCoy, I can understand where he's coming from, having a little bit of saltiness and throwing shade at the Eagles organization.
Shady throwing shade.
Yeah,
nice.
Shady. So, I mean, it's one of those things that McCoy, has to kind of suck it up, move on, and prove the Eagles wrong.
Exactly.
The best way to get back at somebody is to succeed. So I think that's the only thing that McCoy should do at this point. So I think he should listen to Mike Vick. The NCAA women's basketball recently made some rule changes, one being that they will play 4 10-minute quarters starting this season. Justin, do you like the decision?
I love it. I think anything that separates the women's game from the men's game, it makes it more unique and a little more, I guess, attention grabbing. I think that's a good thing because they need more attention. They deserve more attention. I like it. The Los Angeles Clippers recently changed their team logo and uniforms. Jared, do you think they're better or worse than the originals, or the most recent ones?
I actually like them better. They give it a little bit more of a modern look, and especially as great of a season as the Clippers had, I think they deserve a little bit of a swag boost. Again, I don't like using that word, but I really do think that it's well deserved for the Clippers. I think it gives the Clippers organization and its fans something to be excited about. Recently, the Baltimore Orioles defeated the Philadelphia Phillies 19-3 in a game that featured a franchise record 8 home runs. Justin, is this good hitting or bad pitching?
That's bad pitching when you see a game that features 19 runs for just one team. That's horrible pitching. I'm sure the Orioles celebrated like crazy, but that is likely never going to happen again. Also in that game, folks, I will remind you, it is 2015. But we're going to talk about Jeff Francouer for a moment. Jeff Francouer, who was horrible. He was traded by the Braves to New York. Now he's with Philadelphia. And that's a testament to how horrible they are, the fact that he's even on the MLB roster. Jeff Francouer pitched 2 innings. And he only gave, 1 run? Is that correct?
He gave up 2 runs.
2 runs.
But
he had a better alley than Julio Teheran.
That is true. Although he did have an ERA of 9.
Well, that's just because it was 2 innings. I mean, what do you think about this? That was crazy.
I know it excited some fans in a game that they had nothing to be excited about, and that they got blown out. Francouer came in. He walked 3 people, but I mean that's not much worse than what the starting pitcher did or what his reliever did, because the starter's initial reliever gave up seven runs. 6 of them were earned. He gave up 5 home runs. Francouer did give up 1 home run, but I mean that's still much more than some of the Philadelphia than what the Phillies pitchers could actually say. So it gave the fans something to be excited about. It got them on their feet, but I don't think that the Phillies should leave Francouer out there. So it was definitely interesting to see him take the mound, and I don't know, who knows, maybe he could be the reverse Rick Ankiel, as you had mentioned.
You stole my line, man. I had that ready to go.
I didn't think you were going to pitch it. Well, it looks like that's going to do it for us today. Follow us on Twitter at Jay-3 Show.
And also check out our website. It's j3sports.wordpress.com.
And we'll try to do better next time. We'll have some more exciting topics for you, and maybe we can have all 3 of us on the next show. Maybe.
I hope.
Hopefully so. And if not, then we will try to do something to get all 3 of us in the show. So thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.